Abandoned and alone, Elias Kane had always been fascinated by the impossible. Even as a child, he would take apart machines only to put them back together in ways no one expected. That same curiosity had carried him across star systems, to the derelict alien station orbiting a forgotten gas giant. The station was enormous, its structure stretching like a jagged spine into the blackness of space, half buried in layers of alien debris. Humanity had only glimpsed its skeleton through distant scans, but now, walking its cold, metal corridors, Elias understood just how alien it truly was. The disaster struck without warning. A routine systems check, meant to map the station's energy conduits, triggered a defense protocol. Elias barely had time to react. Doors slammed shut, alarms blared in alien frequencies, and the station's automated security, sleek, tentacle-like drones, activated. By the time he reached the observation deck, the rest of the crew was gone, either vaporized by the defense system or forced to evacuate. He was alone. The corridors around him twisted like the inside of a living organism. Pipes and conduits snaked along the walls, some pulsating faintly with a strange bioluminescent glow. The air was thick with the metallic tang of alien machinery, and somewhere deep within the station, something stirred. Elias's suit lights reflected off the walls, illuminating glyphs etched into the metal surfaces, symbols that made no sense yet hinted at intelligence far beyond human comprehension. He exhaled through his respirator, steadying his pulse. Panic was useless here. Survival required calculation, precision, and the type of ingenuity only a human mind could provide. Kneeling by a shattered control panel, he began to assess the damage. Life support was failing in this section, air filters clogged with alien dust and corrosion. Using a combination of his own tools and the remnants of alien circuitry, he managed to patch the ventilation system, stabilizing the flow of breathable air. It was a temporary fix, but it bought him time. Every step further into the station was a gamble. The lights flickered overhead, casting shadows that seemed to slither across the walls. Alien drones skittered in the distance, their movements mechanical yet fluid, and Elias had no doubt they could sense his presence. He moved slowly, deliberately, scanning the corridors for safe passages and weak points in the station's defenses. Every misstep could trigger a fatal response. Yet amidst the terror, he discovered something extraordinary. In a vast chamber at the heart of the station lay the remnants of a massive machine, dormant and half dismantled. Its skeletal frame loomed like a metallic colossus, cables and conduits stretching from it like limbs. The alien symbols etched across its surface suggested it was not merely machinery. It was a masterpiece of engineering, far beyond anything human or alien civilization had ever attempted. Elias felt a thrill he hadn't felt since childhood, the same thrill of solving a puzzle no one else could. He approached cautiously, scanning the structure for hazards. Portions of it still hummed with residual energy, the air vibrating with faint, barely perceptible pulses. "What were you made for?" he muttered under his breath. Every instinct told him this was dangerous, that the machine was designed for war or worse. Yet the engineer in him couldn't resist. Where the aliens saw a weapon, Elias saw potential. A puzzle waiting to be solved, a challenge for human ingenuity. Night, or what counted for night on a station without day, fell around him. Elias set up a makeshift workstation using panels and debris. Using the station's limited power supply, he began to take measurements, sketching schematics on a holographic pad. Every observation, every careful scan, revealed a system both terrifying and beautiful. Energy conduits wound in impossible patterns, hydraulic mechanisms pulsed with silent power, and control nodes responded in ways that seemed almost sentient. Hours passed, or perhaps days. Time was meaningless in the isolation of the station. Elias slept in shifts, never letting himself be vulnerable for long, always returning to the skeletal machine. For all its alien complexity, he began to see patterns, a language he could comprehend. It required patience, creativity, and that stubborn human defiance against odds that were meant to break him. He wasn't just surviving. He was learning, adapting, beginning to understand the alien logic in ways the station's designers never anticipated. By the time he leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated, the first sparks of possibility appeared. If he could stabilize the machine, if he could repair and adapt it, perhaps it could become something new, something that no alien mind had ever imagined. Alone, trapped, abandoned, Elias Kane smiled. Humanity had been left for dead on countless worlds before, and yet, somehow, it always found a way to endure. And if one human mind could rebuild a masterpiece, who knew what marvels might follow? Understanding the alien. The skeletal machine loomed like a silent giant in the chamber, its presence both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Elias Kane circled it carefully, taking measurements, tracing conduits, and cataloging every control node he could find. The alien technology was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Its logic was rigid, precise, and beautiful, yet entirely alien. A single misstep, one misconnected cable or misaligned energy channel, could send the entire station into chaos, or worse, kill him instantly. Elias worked tirelessly, fueled by a mixture of fear and exhilaration. He cannibalized broken panels, repurposed alien circuitry, and integrated them with his own human-made tools. His hands moved with practiced precision, and his mind raced ahead, visualizing outcomes, running simulations he could never fully perform without activating the machine. The station seemed to watch him, its lights pulsing faintly as if responding to his presence, testing him, waiting. Every time he interfaced with a control node, the alien system resisted. Displays flickered with incomprehensible symbols, hydraulics twitched with unfamiliar patterns, and sometimes small defense drones would spring from hidden compartments, sensing disturbance. Elias learned to anticipate them, to read the subtle changes in the hum of the station. He wasn't just surviving, he was adapting. The aliens had built perfection, but perfection lacked creativity. Humans had that advantage. Days bled into nights, or what passed for time aboard the station, and Elias began to notice patterns in the alien logic. Certain conduits carried pulses and sequences, others acted as feedback loops, and some seemingly decorative elements were integral to the machine's function. The more he observed, the more he realized he could speak to the machine through improvisation, introducing human-style solutions where alien design had no tolerance for flexibility. For example, a failing energy loop threatened to overload the main conduits. The alien engineers had built it for maximum efficiency, but it was brittle, unforgiving. Elias rerouted a human-manufactured stabilizer, adding a redundant feedback loop. The machine's response was immediate. A pulse of energy coursed through the conduits. The hum grew steadier, and the flickering lights of the chamber steadied. The skeletal frame vibrated as if acknowledging him. It was working. His notes grew extensive. Every diagram, every adjustment, every small victory was meticulously recorded. Elias realized the machine wasn't just a weapon. It was a research station, a laboratory of sorts, capable of creating, analyzing, and manipulating matter in ways humans had only theorized. And if he could master it, the possibilities were staggering. He allowed himself a small smile. Humanity might be left for dead on alien stations, but humans didn't just survive, they transformed. Isolation pressed heavily on him, though. The station was cold, silent, and utterly alien. Hallways seemed to stretch endlessly, shadows forming shapes that teased the edge of perception. The defense drones continued to patrol, silent and deadly, testing his limits. Elias learned to anticipate them, using the station's architecture to create traps, decoys, and safe corridors. Each encounter honed his instincts. Each narrow escape reaffirmed his confidence. Slowly, piece by piece, he began restoring the skeletal machine. Hydraulics that had long since frozen began to move, first stiffly, then smoothly. Conduits hummed as energy began to flow, pulsing rhythmically. Lights flickered on in sequences that suggested an alien attempt at communication. Elias realized he was not merely repairing. He was conversing with a machine. His human creativity was translating into control over alien systems in ways the original designers had never anticipated. The first small test was simple. A single mechanical arm of the machine moved in response to his input. Elias held his breath as it extended, paused, and retracted with perfect precision. The sensation was intoxicating. He could almost feel the machine thinking, adapting to him, learning his intentions. Here, in this derelict station, humanity was not just present, it was superior. Where alien logic was fixed, human ingenuity could bend, improvise, and exceed expectations. Encouraged, Elias tackled the next challenge, the energy matrix at the core of the machine. It was a lattice of conduits and nodes, alien in structure and lethal in potential. A misstep could overload the system, creating a catastrophic chain reaction. Yet he approached it with patience, precision, and audacious confidence. Slowly, methodically, he rerouted energy, reinforced failing nodes with human ingenuity, and introduced redundancy into a system designed to be singular and unforgiving. The matrix pulsed in response, stabilizing as if acknowledging its new operator. By the time he paused to rest, Elias could see the beginnings of the marvel he was creating. The skeletal machine, once dormant and deadly, now responded to human intervention. Lights glowed with purpose, hydraulics moved with deliberate intent, and the hum of power filled the chamber like a heartbeat. One human mind, left alone on an alien station, had begun to transform despair into potential. And as Elias stood back, exhausted but triumphant, he realized something profound. Survival wasn't enough. Humans didn't just endure. They enhanced, adapted, and created marvels even the universe hadn't anticipated. Rebirth of the marvel. Elias Kane stood before the skeletal machine, his hands stained with grease and alien residue, his suit scuffed from weeks of constant work. The chamber had grown familiar to him, the hum of dormant energy now a steady rhythm beneath his feet. He had deciphered its alien logic, repurposed broken components, and, most importantly, injected the one element the machine had never accounted for: human ingenuity. The next step was dangerous. To bring the machine fully online, he had to synchronize the energy matrix with the central control nodes. A miscalculation could collapse the conduits, fry the hydraulics, or trigger the station's defense systems. Yet Elias didn't hesitate. He thrived on impossible tasks. Humanity had survived worse, and this machine, no matter how alien, would bend to his will. He began carefully, rerouting power through human-engineered stabilizers. Alien conduits hissed, pulsed, and vibrated as if protesting his audacity. Sparks danced along the edges of control panels, and the floor beneath him shivered under the energy flowing through the skeletal frame. Elias adjusted the frequency, tuning it with his human intuition, and the machine responded. Lights flashed in patterns that seemed almost communicative, gears and pistons slowly aligning. Hours passed, or was it days? Time was meaningless when survival and creation merged into one. Elias slept in shifts, curled in alcoves between alien struts, his dreams haunted by pulses of energy and half-formed mechanical limbs. But even in sleep, his mind worked, visualizing connections, predicting failures, calculating outcomes. By morning, the first major subsystem hummed with life. A hydraulic arm extended and retracted smoothly, controlled entirely by Elias's interface. This small success ignited his momentum. If one arm could move, then the entire frame could be restored. He integrated human-engineered redundancies into every system: backup conduits, adaptive power nodes, and flexible joints that could compensate for alien structural quirks. The machine's skeleton began to shiver and twitch, limbs folding and stretching with a precision that no alien engineer had intended. Elias felt a thrill unlike any he had ever known. This was more than repair. It was evolution. Alien design was rigid, functional, efficient, beautiful but static. Human innovation was unpredictable creative, and resilient. He infused the skeletal machine with adaptability, systems that could self-repair, energy loops that could redistribute power dynamically, and control nodes that responded intuitively to his commands. The machine was no longer just alien, it was humanized. But the transformation wasn't without risk. The energy matrix at the core was unstable, thrumming with raw power. One misalignment could blow the station apart. Elias approached it with meticulous care, rerouting conduits with a combination of human improvisation and alien schematics. The matrix pulsed violently, then settled into a steady rhythm. Lights flared along the frame, illuminating corridors that had lain dark for centuries. The skeletal marvel was awakening. He paused to study it. The machine was massive, far larger than he had first realized, its limbs and appendages capable of feats that dwarfed any human construction. Yet in its complexity, he saw opportunity, adaptability where aliens had enforced rigidity, creativity where they had enforced obedience, and foresight where they had relied solely on protocol. In every way, the machine now reflected its human operator. Testing came next. Elias initiated a controlled power cycle, sending the skeletal frame through a series of basic motions. Limbs extended and retracted, joints rotated smoothly, and auxiliary systems responded precisely. Defense drones, once deadly, now moved alongside the machine as if acknowledging his command. The station itself seemed to breathe with him, the alien architecture bending subtly to his influence. A wave of exhilaration washed over him. Alone, abandoned, trapped on a station designed to kill him, Elias Kane had not only survived, he had transcended the limitations of alien design. One human mind, using curiosity, patience, and ingenuity, had transformed a dormant weapon into a marvel of engineering. Yet Elias knew the real test was coming. Activating the skeletal machine fully would draw energy from the station's core, potentially overloading systems and triggering dormant defenses. The risk was immense, but hesitation was a luxury he could not afford. Humanity did not thrive by waiting. It thrived by doing what others deemed impossible. With steady hands, he engaged the final sequence. The machine surged to life, energy cascading through conduits, pistons pumping, lights blazing. The skeletal frame moved as if alive, responding to his every command. Drones hovered in formation, auxiliary systems hummed in harmony, and the chamber itself vibrated with power. Elias stepped back, marveling at what he had accomplished. In that moment, the reality hit him. This was no longer merely alien technology. It was a testament to human potential. Where alien engineers had designed for efficiency and control, he had introduced adaptability, creativity, and unpredictability. The skeletal machine, once a dormant colossus, had become something new, a marvel born of human ingenuity. Elias Kane allowed himself a rare smile. Humanity had been left for dead countless times across the stars, yet somehow it always endured and evolved. And if one human mind could rebuild a marvel, who could say what other impossible feats lay ahead? Humanity triumphant. The chamber hummed with life. Where once only silence and alien menace had prevailed, now power pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and undeniable. Elias Kane stepped back from the skeletal machine, surveying the marvel he had brought to life. Every joint, every conduit, every system responded to his commands with flawless precision. It was no longer just alien technology. It was an extension of him, a testament to human ingenuity and adaptability. He tested it cautiously at first. Hydraulic limbs flexed, energy conduits adjusted dynamically, and auxiliary drones moved in synchronized patterns around the colossal frame. The skeletal machine could operate autonomously, yet it awaited his commands, anticipating his intentions with a precision that would have baffled its original designers. Elias realized that he had done something no alien engineer could have predicted. He had created a machine that was not only functional, but adaptable, creative, and alive with human thought. The station itself seemed to recognize the shift. Doors that had been sealed for centuries opened smoothly, corridors reconfigured to accommodate the skeletal frame's movement, and the ambient energy stabilized. Even the defense drones, once lethal hunters, now moved in formation around him, responding to subtle commands with perfect coordination. Humanity had claimed dominion not through brute force, but through intelligence, creativity, and resilience. Yet Elias knew the station was not just a marvel. It was a potential weapon, a fulcrum of immense power. Beyond its chambers lay the outer systems, reactors, propulsion units, and experimental modules, dormant but dangerous. One mistake could annihilate the station or trigger dormant protocols designed to eradicate intruders. But hesitation was not an option. Humanity did not survive by standing still, and Elias had no intention of leaving this potential unrealized. He activated the skeletal machine fully. Energy cascaded through the conduits, illuminating the station with brilliant blue-white light. The machine's limbs extended gracefully, testing its range and strength, while the drones executed complex patterns overhead. Systems he had rebuilt thrummed in harmony, demonstrating capabilities far beyond the original design. Where aliens had built efficiency and rigidity, Elias had injected flexibility, redundancy, and ingenuity. The result was a marvel that exceeded its creators. With careful precision, he began exploring the station's outer modules. Alien research stations were designed for study, defense, and control, but never for adaptation. Human innovation changed that. Elias rerouted energy from dormant reactors, synchronized auxiliary systems, and repaired experimental devices with a mixture of alien schematics and human improvisation. The station, once a threat, had become an instrument of human will. The first true test came when a cluster of dormant drones activated unexpectedly, mistaking the new energy flows for intruders. Elias watched, analyzing, calculating. With a subtle gesture, he redirected the skeletal machine's energy pulse. Drones froze, then aligned themselves into coordinated formations, responding to his commands instead of the station's original protocols. What had been a danger became an ally. Humans did not simply adapt, they commanded. Hours passed in a blur of activity. Elias explored every chamber, every module, integrating systems, optimizing conduits, and enhancing capabilities. The skeletal machine could now operate at full power, its frame extending into corridors previously deemed inaccessible. Drones patrolled autonomously, repair systems activated continuously, and the station's energy core hummed with a power both alien and distinctly human. Standing atop a central observation platform, Elias looked out into the void beyond the station. Stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to human ambition. Yet here, in this alien structure, humanity had left its mark. One human mind had survived where countless systems had failed, not just enduring, but elevating alien technology to new heights. It was a triumph born not of brute force, but of ingenuity, resilience, and creativity, the core strengths of humanity. Elias allowed himself a moment of reflection. He recorded a message, a log for any future explorers who might arrive. This station was built to kill us, to test us, to destroy. And yet, here we are. We survive. We adapt. We elevate. One human mind can turn death into creation, despair into marvel. Humanity is not merely resilient. We are extraordinary. For the first time in weeks, Elias smiled without the weight of exhaustion pressing down. The skeletal machine stood beside him, a sentinel of human innovation, fully operational and ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The alien station, once a tomb, had become a testament to humanity's potential. And as he looked out across the endless darkness of space, Elias knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had been underestimated countless times, left for dead on worlds hostile and indifferent. Yet, time and again, humans had proven themselves capable of the impossible. On this alien station, abandoned and feared, one human engineer had rebuilt a marvel, and in doing so, had shown that no force in the universe could match human ingenuity. The station's lights pulsed in response, rhythmic and alive. Elias Kane straightened, ready to take the next step. Humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars, not as pawns, not as victims, but as creators of marvels that no alien mind could predict or surpass.